money and Ukraine's NATO facility.
And we are live again.
Good to be alive.
And good to be alive. Not so good to be alive in a day like today. I'm kind of pissed off, but all right, we shall get to that point. I had a lot of subjects to talk about today.
Yeah,
but
you're going to give me the report on Trump's speech before the UN. So let's dive into that.
I'm not sure what to, but all right, let's start from the beginning, man. How are you doing?
I am well.
That's great. That's great. I hope everybody that's watching us are also doing well. Don't forget to follow Larry on sonar21.com and like, share, subscribe if you like this video. If you don't like, don't like. It's all right as well. Larry, I was passing through my messages today and I found out, oh yeah, there's Trump talking at the UN after Lula, by the way.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and he even mentioned that, he said that, well, I had like 20 seconds meeting with President Lula just before I got to the stage and all that. And the what I found interesting is that the teleprompter was broken, at least as he mentions, the teleprompter was broken, and he was singing the tune by the ear. And the beginning was a disaster. And the end looked like the beginning. I know you watched a little bit.
Give me some specifics. When you say it, why was it a disaster?
Well, he started by, just talking nonsense to his internal public. I mean, he's at the UN and he's talking about inflation and Biden sucks and well, I am the best president of all times. I ended 257,000 wars. All those stuff, meant to be consumed by internal public. I'm not, a geopolitical analyst or a diplomatic analyst, but one thing that I know is that when a president, a leader of a country, takes the pulpit, the place where he wants to shout to the world, an international place, to talk to his internal public, things are doing very bad. Very bad.
Well, let's drill down into, the only part I saw was his sort of opening remarks where he blamed India and China for the war in Ukraine, for allowing that war to continue, which I thought was an outrageous comment. But then he went on to castigate Europe for continuing to buy oil from Russia. So, you could view that part of the speech as a direct threat, wanting to threaten Russia's ability to export oil, which, candidly, it's about 15% of the Russian economy. So it's not a life or death matter necessarily, but it's still, it was not the kind of comments you would expect to make the Russians say, oh yeah, Donald Trump's our friend. Did he do anything else like that in the course of the speech?
Well, brief summary, he blamed the UN for immigration.
Mm-hmm.
He blamed Iran for terror, and he blamed Venezuela for fentanyl. He blamed China and India, as you mentioned, for Russian war. He blamed Europe for not fighting against China and India. And I'm not sure it's nothing is U.S. to blame. Everything is to be blaming someone else.
Did he say anything about Israel?
Oh, no. No, no, no. Oh yeah, no, no, no. Of course, he blamed Hamas and Iran. He blamed Iran for Hamas and Hamas for Israel.
Hmm. Yeah, so I guess he just won global support for his performance.
Eh,
All the countries of the world said, "Yeah, United States, great country. Let's be their friend."
I wrote here very big letters. Trump just pissed off the entire planet
Yeah, yeah,
in one sentence, a couple of sentences. But he
yeah.
just pissed off the entire planet. He destroyed the UN. I mean, that's the final nail for the UN. I'm sure.
Yeah, I personally think the UN ought to be, eliminated now. The new international organization should be constructed around BRICS. And if the West wants to participate, great, but they're going to have to participate on a more equal footing. You can't have this Western dominated. The UN Security Council is controlled completely by the United States, France, and England, the United Kingdom. That can't be allowed. France and the United Kingdom have no justification to even be sitting at that table as a permanent representatives. They're inconsequential countries, malevolent, but problematic. But they're certainly not, the military powers that they once were.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. That's for which, by the way, there was a very interesting thing that the what's it called the convoy, Trump's convoy, to arrive to the UN had to make stop Macron's convoy, the French convoy,
Hmm.
and Macron has had to walk all the way to his destination.
Oh, really? I hadn't heard that. That's funny.
That's funny.
Yeah.
If I will treat this as a gossip because I saw it, on Twitter at some point, but that's probably there's the video. So the video pretty much shows Macron leaving the car and walking all his way to the destiny.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's New York City traffic is always a nightmare anyway. I don't know how you know, and so what they do is they will literally shut down all traffic, and it creates these massive traffic jams just so Trump or whoever the president is can get around.
Yeah, exactly. Larry, one thing that I found very interesting is that at some point, Trump basically said very interesting things about nuclear weapons and biological weapons. He wants to rebuild some, biological weapon control treaty and nuclear weapon control treaty. But the way he speaks kind of sounds, knowing that he's kind of gangster mafia guy, kind of sounds like a threat to the world. Like, to this point, he was always threatening countries, but right now it kind of sounds like, what a beautiful world, planet you have there. It would be a shame if something terrible had happened to it.
Well, yeah, I mean, if
And
if
then
if, if
drop
he's
something.
if he's serious about doing something with controlling the spread of nuclear weapons or keeping it under control, he would have expressed his support and an agreement to what the Russians proposed yesterday to stay on board with START and have an open talks immediately to extend START 2. But apparently he didn't do that. Uh, there's already, think, international conventions governing biological weapons. I think that was, I did see a little bit of that commentary before I started my interview conversation with Alistair Crook, but I took that as more of a jab at China than an actual valid expression on Trump's part to really do something to contain biological weapons.
Yeah, he actually that's a great point because he actually mentioned, the exported. He didn't mention China to the, pandemic situation. He didn't blame China. He didn't mention China's name, but he said, overseas biological experiments, blah 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 blah. We know what he's talking about, or what
Mhm.
he's trying to convey us to think about. Yeah, that's an interesting point. I haven't thought about that. Again, he uses, he tries, at the end he was sounding like a salesman, trying to sell energy to the planet, and to make the planet agree that buying energy from the United States was a good idea, instead of buying from Russia, from whoever produces energy. That was always also very very interesting, because he mentions the well, the nuclear program, Iranian's nuclear program. He mentions China buying energy from Russia, again blaming
Mhm.
China for everything. But he doesn't actually expands on how. Can America exports energy to someone at this point? Because last time I checked, the reservoirs were very low.
Well, it's not the oil. Um, U.S. energy exports have not been oil; it's been liquid natural gas. So, and what's real interesting on that front is one of the primary markets for the United States used to be China, and now because of the trade dispute, China's stopped. It's no longer going to be purchasing as much liquid natural gas and propane from the United States. Instead, it's going to be buying it from Russia. And so that's going to have a real, detrimental effect on the oil and gas market. It also has implications for the Europeans because, they can buy the liquid natural gas from the United States, but they're going to pay more than they were for getting the gas through the Nord Stream pipeline. So it's going to have a negative effect on the economies in Europe. Already is.
Yeah, he basically asked Europe to commit economic suicide. That's what he did. Well,
Yeah.
not asked, it told them to do so. There's a difference in the way of speaking. Yeah, that's. Oh yeah, of course he mentioned the Nobel Prize, that he needs to earn a Nobel Prize. That's
Oh my
very
God.
important.
Yeah. Jesus. The, the insecurity, the weakness and insecurity of this guy is off the charts. I mean, and I've
You
described
know
it.
what I mean?
Yeah. Do you know what Tourette's syndrome is?
Yes.
So I describe Trump's foreign policy as like a new form of Tourette's syndrome, you know, because he's like, you know, Bagram, we want that back. We built it. Panama Canal, we built that too. We want that back. Greenland, we built that. It's like, really?
we, we built the Greenland. Greenland. We built that.
Then he's about to expect me to go, did I mention I'm God? I created everything.
No, he doesn't say that, but he said that he's always right.
Yeah.
Every time I heard him speaking, saying that sentence, I'm always right. I
Yeah.
remember of Animal Farm book. You know,
Well,
Napoleon is always right.
that 50 years ago, I worked for a very wise man. And he pulled me aside one day and he said, Johnson, you're always sure. You're not always right, but you're always sure. that,
I,
that
I
that applies to Trump. He's always sure. Not
you know,
all, very often not right.
very often,
Yeah.
I would say almost always, as close to always too often. I had one of the subscribers of the channel told me that I should make a T-shirt about that. With you, I'm not always right, but I'm always sure.
Yeah. I'm always sure. Not always right, but always sure.
Yeah, no, it was a disaster. I'm being really, someone should tell the guy that people don't like that attitude. People don't like to be bullied. Countries don't like to be bullied. One thing that my ears noticed is that the claps. Every time he was, and yeah, he tried to pull up a stand-up comedy show as well. There was some laughs.
Did he get any applause?
Yeah, that's the point. The applause. When your friend, nobody likes your friend, but he's your friend. It's somewhere there, presenting something, and then when he finishes, you start. But then nobody follows you. That's what happened.
So you had a few people clapping, and the rest of the audience just sort of sat on their hands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was very. You could hear it. The strong claps. It's not that natural.
Yeah.
Everybody's clapping. The strong claps to pull the audience, but everybody else was just nah.
Yeah,
Not today.
that's what the Israelis, when Bibi Netanyahu speaks, they bring in a crowd that will applaud. Nobody else is, but at least they bring in enough people who are instructed. This is your job. Clap.
Exactly. I perhaps the teleprompter was not working on the other side where it says applause.
Yeah. What's the Spanish word for it? Aplaudir.
Aplaudir.
Is
In
that
Portuguese is the same.
Portuguese igual. Okay.
The same. Aplaudir.
Aplaudir. Yeah, okay.
Same word. Larry, I don't know. Do you want to comment anything else on that? I have a headache for that. For what?
Yeah,
For
well,
hearing that.
Hey, you did a public service. You watched it so other people didn't have to. You can give them the book report.
I have nightmares.
But you got to get down to the specifics exactly. What did he say that was offensive? How did he say it? What again, the part I saw where he was insulting India, China, Russia. It's like, really? And Europe. You can't see anybody coming out of that saying, boy, he made a really compelling, he didn't even do it in a compelling way. Very off-putting. So
yeah. I didn't have much time because I just 10 minutes before I finished hearing that, but I made the whatever I could put up together, not the exactly words.
Yeah.
But for example, the UN blamed the UN for the wars. He said, you did not have any wars. Don't worry. Bless you. You did not help. Plus, the UN, the United Nations, escalated the wars. He said that with those words.
Yeah.
Then he said that the United Nations financed immigrants to, flood the United States. What the hell?
Yeah.
I cannot possibly imagine how he come to who wrote that. This person should have been jailed, making the president of the United States look like that.
Well, I meant to do the math on it. So if I recall the number, hang on here, let me see if I can do it real quick. So he said that the United Nations allocated $327 million, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Well, there's 300 divided by, and it went to 624,000 illegal immigrants, right?
That's like $2,000.
No.
$1,000 each, $500 each.
$524 a piece.
I mixed the 600 with the 300, but then
yeah. So please, so it's 500, a little over $500. Okay, that's not a lot of money. I can understand if it was like $5,000 per person. Yeah, then you could blame the UN. $524 may, that buys you coffee and a bagel in New York City. Okay.
On Starbucks, I don't think you get a coffee.
Yeah, it was. We're talking Starbucks or, Carnegie Deli. I guess it's closed now. Used to be quite the place. But anyway, um, you know, Trump, Trump's policies and alienation of countries that were even once friendly towards the United States is accelerating. So by allowing Israel to bomb Doha and helping Israel bomb Doha, Trump has now really created a major split with we would have formerly called them the Gulf Arabs being allies of the United States. Now I think a lot of them are having second thoughts. Then his illegal, I'll even call it criminal bombing of these, attacks on these boats coming out of Venezuela, killing people with, no due process. I mean, it's one thing if those boats
No
were
proof.
firing missiles or firing weapons of some sort at U.S. Naval vessels or U.S. Law enforcement or military personnel, but that's not what's happening. He's just saying, "No, I don't like what they're doing. I'm going to kill them." Good God! I
I'm
mean,
gonna
this
kill
is
whoever. That's the point.
you can't do that, and he's doing it and with no, you know, loss of, with no second thoughts at all, and nobody around him is stepping up and saying, "Wait a second, if you're going to do this, I'm resigning. I'm not going to be part of a criminal activity." Now they're going along with it.
Do you think, Larry, that some people, for example, I'll give you a named example, Tulsi Gabbard. She was someone that for some time, pushed some very nice ideas. As soon as she took the office, things derailed. Do you think that some people like her, not say exactly her, but like her, with
Well,
perhaps good intentions,
w-
are holding to the job to try to do something, or just holding to the job because of the job?
well, what do you mean derailed? I'm not sure I understand what you mean.
I mean, it's not. I will not say derail. Derail is perhaps a too strong word. She had very, very interesting ideas, about diplomacy, ending wars, really ending wars. But then she took the office, and she kind of looked, she was embraced by the narratives.
Well,
She's just following the lead.
let me help you out here. I think what you're talking about is, for example, she delivered an intelligence community assessment saying that Iran did not have nuclear weapons. And then when Trump decided he was going to bomb Iran on the pretext that they had nuclear weapons, instead of her resigning in protest and saying, "No, this is not correct. The president is lying." Instead of doing that, she went along with it and became part of it. So, yeah, in that regard, yeah, she displayed a complete lack of courage and, a level of sycophancy. So, yeah, and so it raises questions that if she's going to change on that, can we trust her on anything? Because basically, if you're going to lie about that, what else are you going to lie about?
Yeah, that's kind of the point. Not talking precisely about her, but perhaps there are other people in her position similar to her that would also follow the lead. Just hold to the job, or do you think they really, um, well, perhaps don't have courage? I think you answered that.
Well, yeah, I don't see Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, or Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, and the National Security Advisor, and God knows what else. Uh, I don't see any of them telling Donald Trump, for example, President wants to blow up the boat. What Pete Hegseth here said, "Mr. President, no, I can't. I cannot advise and support that decision because, one, it violates our rules of engagement. We can't just kill somebody because we don't like how they look. They've got to pose a direct and imminent threat to us or to our personnel. Number two, um, and this is where someone like Pam Bondi should have weighed in, or the head of the DEA saying, "Look, uh, it's better to capture these people so we can find out who is above them, who's running this organization. That's who we need to go after. If we're wanting to stop the fentanyl, that's what we need to go after." But again, the entire premise of it was a lie. That boat, the first one that they attacked in particular, with 4 outboard motors, it couldn't reach the United States without having some other boats come along and refuel it along the way. It's a 1,300-mile trip, and that boat only has a maximum of like 250-mile range. So you can travel 250 miles and then it needs to get refueled. Well, just, if you got to go 1,300 miles, you're talking 1, 2, 3, 4 refuelings, 200 and, plus gallons of gas each time. So, 800 to 1,000 gallons of fuel. Can't reach the United States. And yet they push the lie. Oh, yeah, that was trafficking fentanyl to the United States. I mean, it's an egregious lie is what it is.
Yeah, one of the points that Trump was trying to make today on the UN was exactly that each boat of that was responsible for the death of 25,000 Americans. I don't- how much fentanyl do you need to consume to die? So we can, you know, make a paper calculation on how much
Well,
did one
yeah,
of those boats.
a small, a very, you know, you could put enough fentanyl on those boats in theory that, yeah, you could kill 2 or 3 million Americans with that quantity.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, fentanyl it's a very dangerous drug. Just a small amount contact with you can cause you into push you into a respiratory arrest. So yeah, that's not an exaggeration. The fentanyl as a threat to the United States is real, but it's not coming out of Venezuela.
That's another point.
It's coming out of Mexico, for God's sake, and China. It's made in China and made in Mexico, and it comes and smuggled into the United States from Mexico, not from Venezuela. You know, I think what's really going on is the intent of Trump is to create a pretext to attack Venezuela, hopefully provoke a regime change so the United States can get control of Venezuelan oil. Because I think they're anticipating that there is going to be a war. They're going to attack Iran again.
Most likely. But there's a point that I don't understand because just not so long ago, Maduro and Trump, well, Trump for his side and Maduro for his side, they agreed on the oil being extracted by the United States. And if I'm not mistaken, the United States is still the biggest buyer of Venezuela oil.
Yeah,
So
but Trump has been, he's been trying for, during his first administration and now it's renewed again this administration to get rid of Maduro.
yeah,
You
that's
remember
true.
remember Juan Guaido? Juan
One and two.
Guaido. Yeah. He was the United States claimed that he was president. And Trump brought him to the State of the Union message and recognized him as such. Meanwhile, Venezuela just went on with its regular business.
Yeah, just like the other guy the other day. What's Corina Machado, but not her, the old guy. He was recognized by the Europeans and the United States. Another Juan Guaido. Nonsense.
Right.
Simple nonsense.
Yeah.
Simple nonsense. So what? Bolsonaro is our president now in Brazil because Trump will recognize him. That's how it works. Democracy.
Yeah.
Elections. Oh yeah, perhaps that's what exporting democracy means. I just learned that. See, Larry, I'm gonna keep on the United States, but I want to talk about the fantastic conversation that you had with Alex Grainer
Mhm.
a couple of days ago. I think
Yeah.
it was out yesterday.
Yeah,
Uh,
it came out 2 days ago, I think.
Came
2, 3.
out 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Larry, the situation, the economic situation in the United States, because this is also part of the UN Trump, BS. Economy is surging, and salaries are rising, and people are getting richer than ever. The economic situation of the United States, Larry. You mentioned some. I had something to show you, but I didn't get it.
Okay.
The situation in the United States, you mentioned something very interesting about housing prices and also tax prices. How's the economic situation in the United States? And while you answer that to me, I'm going to get to something to show you.
Okay. There you go. So the economic situation in the United States on paper right now, in terms of stock prices, if you look at the stock market, it's in great shape. Stock market is just going through the roof, but you have to step back and say, okay, what's going on? Number one, the unemployment rate in the country is starting to increase. So that's troublesome. The debt situation, the U.S. financial deficit is growing each and every day with no sign of letting up. So the economy is actually in, some argue that it's actually in recession. But what's keeping it afloat is money is flowing out of Europe into the United States, which is it's creating sort of an illusion of prosperity, but it's not genuine prosperity. And we've also had inflation, but it's been hidden. And I can use my own home as an example. The home I live in has doubled in price, actually more than doubled in price since I moved in 6 years ago. And it is, so the fact, it wasn't because we did something to the house to make it more valuable. So that is a sign. That's actually a sign of inflation that's in the economy. The United States is. I think the U.S. economy is a little bit like the Potemkin villages that were reported in Russia and Crimea, where you had these facades. From the outside, it looks strong, it looks great, but then once you go through the door, you realize it's just a facade. There's no real depth there. So what did you get to show me? What do you have?
Okay, because I think we already talked about the hyperinflation a couple of times in Argentina.
Yep.
And I don't recall if I ever told you that I lived through hyperinflation in Brazil, also in the 80s. Well, I was very young, but back at the time, but I remember some things. One of the things that I remember, for example, it's the supermarket was opening in the morning, and there was this thing called the price pistol. So there was no QR codes or barcodes back in the time, so people were manually repricing stuff on the supermarkets. We were getting to the supermarket very early or before the afternoon when prices were changing again.
Right.
And the kids, I was one kid. My mother did a poor job on that point, but I was the one kid. We were going in front of the person with the price remarker to get things, rice, beans, stuff like that, before they change prices.
Right.
Because prices were changing in the day. And one thing, and mostly perhaps I'll be showing this for American public or European public, but this is what inflation looks like. I don't know if you're able to see. I'm gonna have to do something here.
No, I can just put it back where it was. I could see it. Yeah.
Okay. This is the 10 cruzados. And this is a 10,000 cruzados.
So it was the same. It just knocked the zeros off.
It's the same. They were just knocking the zeros off.
Yeah,
it's the same deal.
Yeah.
At some point, things were so bad, we didn't have money. Well, it would be too expensive to print money, that they start doing this, uh, stamping the bills.
They
Do
stamped
you
it as 10.
do, yeah, do you see there was this the 10,000,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
you have a stamp here.
It
This,
says,
this is what's worth. It's the
yeah,
same bill.
yeah,
This
yeah.
is what's worth.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I saw that exactly in Argentina. You had to look at the bill, the picture, not at the actual amount printed on the bill because it changed.
exactly, exactly. And that's a bit to show people how things, because things were so getting out of control. Let me remirror myself. Things were getting so out of control that the government at some point just said, okay, cut as many zeros as possible, 3 zeros, sometimes 6 zeros, because 1 million, 10 million monies, it's too much.
Yeah, and so when we talk about this as like a catastrophic economic circumstance, but as you know, life goes on. I mean, it didn't, it's not like
Exactly.
everything came to a halt, um, that the supermarket shelves were empty. Uh, you know, the real nightmare would be, and we saw a little bit during the COVID crisis when certain products were not available, supply chains were screwed up. Um, but what does happen is the financial side of the house gets screwed up. Um, and I imagine it was the same in Brazil as I saw in Argentina. In Argentina, uh, after you, before you went shopping first thing in the morning, you'd go to the money exchanger, to the Casa de Cambio, to buy some dollars or to sell some dollars so you could get pesos or cruceros for the day. So then you could go buy your groceries, but you always wanted to keep a stash of dollars available or gold or whatever. So because something that would hold value, while your own currency became basically worthless.
In Brazil, in my family, well, the family I grew up, my mom and my dad, they were both working in banks. So in Brazil, we had something called overnight, which was basically, you invest overnight, so
Hmm.
the next day the inflation had not rotten your money. So for them was slightly less bad, the situation.
Yeah, yeah.
But for most of average people did not had this facility not facility, sorry, easiness of exchanging money. It was
Hmm.
not so easy. So at that time we had the parallel dollar, and like dark the black market dollar. It was much more costly than the normal dollar.
Yeah,
And the average Joe was just seeing its money being rotten
yeah,
by
yeah.
the day. Yeah, it was a terrible situation. You told again the situation of your friend to Alex, who sold a house, and then after a couple of years was owning the bank for some taxes, more money than
Then with
the
the
amount
house.
that
Yeah,
that he sold out.
yeah. Actually, the other way to put it in perspective, within like 2 years, the amount of money he received for the house, you could take that amount of money and you could buy a bottle of Coca-Cola.
That's the 100,000 here.
Yeah, that's where you go. All of a sudden, 10,000, 100,000, just crazy.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
like that. Larry, I know you have another interview today, very busy week, but I would like, if it's okay for you, to metaphorically move a little bit the subject, only the subject,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
me
yeah,
and
yeah,
you,
yeah, yeah,
to Ukraine.
yeah. What do you
Uh,
want? What's your
you
question?
wrote you wrote a piece this week or last week about the numbers that's starting slowly to come out of deaths in Ukraine
Hmm.
and the situation in Pokrovsk as well. How is Ukraine doing, man?
Yeah, Ukraine's losing catastrophic casualties. Um, They haven't exhausted all of their supply of young, middle-aged men, but they are giving 60-year-olds the opportunity to sign up. But despite claims from U.S. analysts and former generals that Ukraine's winning the war, Russia's losing the war, Russia's suffering massive casualties, it's just not true. And from January until, for the last now 9 months, they have had semi-regular exchange of bodies. The bodies of dead Russians that are in Ukrainian possession, vice the bodies of dead Ukrainians that are in Russian possession. And the ratio that the bodies, for every dead Russian that's returned to Russia, there are between 35 and 40 dead Ukrainians returned to Ukraine. So the explanation then from some analysts is, well, that's just because Russia's moving so fast that the Ukraine doesn't have time to recover its bodies. Yeah, that's correct. Maybe Russia's moving too fast. But then
Let that sink for a second.
yeah, because then that runs directly against what people like General Keith Kellogg, retired General David Petraeus, retired General Ben Hodges, retired General Mark Kemet, retired Admiral Stavridis. All these guys are out there saying, oh, yeah, Russia's barely making any movement. Slow, It's like, okay. They're just creeping along inches. So on the one hand, they're hardly moving, but they're killing so many Ukrainians that the Ukrainians don't have time to pick up the bodies. The Russians do. And yet, despite inflicting massive casualties on the Russians, the Ukrainians don't have time to recover those bodies either. I mean, it's just, it's male bovine excrement is what it is. It's the old MBE. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, MB. Yeah, that's what, when the Queen of England or the King of England, they knight somebody, they give him an MBE. That's what it means. They're giving them the male bovine excrement award. So
I have to create that.
Yeah, that's what's going on here. So yeah, this look, Ukraine is suffering disproportionate losses, and one of these days it's going to break because it cannot continue to sustain such losses.
One of these days, what was the character? One of these days.
Yeah, well, that was an Eagles song. One of these, one of these days, one of these nights,
Yeah. All right, man. Do you want to mention something about the Israel situation, Middle East? They invaded Gaza again. They entered.
Well, yeah, the invasion's been underway now for about 2 weeks, and Israelis are getting killed. I mean, they're killing Palestinians, of course, but the quick defeat and the taking control, they've been unable to take control of the area. Think about that. They've got every military advantage, and they're having trouble taking control of Gaza City in particular. So Israel has it has become a pariah now. The countries previously that were even willing to entertain an Abraham Accord to say, yeah, we'll get along with Israel. No, they recognize Israel as a monster. It's a criminal nation. And frankly, I understand those who make the case that it shouldn't exist. The very survival of Israel could come into play if they decide to attack Iran again, even with the United States. Israel's very survival could be in question then. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, let's report about the UN. I forgot about this. Trump also threw the 3 days to Kiev BS on the table there.
Did the what?
he threw the 3 days to Kiev to conquer Ukraine. Russia should take. Everybody believed that Russia would take 3 days to conquer Kiev.
He put that out there again. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
he put
Yeah,
that.
yeah. That's just stupid.
He just recycled every BS from the Biden administration,
Yeah,
and then blame Biden.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Unfortunate.
Unfortunately.
He's gonna create a global crisis, I'm afraid. Whoop, you're muted.
He's already creating. Sorry.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
already creating.
So your mouth was moving, no sound coming out.
I do that every now and then.
Yeah,
That's called inexperience,
Yeah.
lack of experience.
So
Man, I think we went through a good field today of discussion. I will remember everybody to like, share, subscribe on this channel, on Larry Johnson's channels, because this is being also
yeah,
broadcasted to BitChute, Rumble, on Larry's channels, on YouTube, because YouTube took his channel down, but it's being broadcasted to the press of mass destruction. I forgot Twitter today, but yeah, every now and then I also broadcast to Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all the subjects, and Telegram channels. Don't forget, and follow Larry on sonar21.com. Amazing content every day. Oh, well, almost every day.
almost about every day. So
About every day, yeah. About every day. So,
all right, my friend.
Thank you very much once again, and hopefully see you next week.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.